eve of the engagement party. A woman had appeared in my newly renovated marital home. She occupied my marital home, wore my fiancé's white shirt, and flirted with him in my master bedroom. He turned to me and said she was his childhood friend, and I shouldn't mind. The two of them continued their intimate gestures right under my nose, and I just laughed. Did they take me for a fool? I wasn't getting married. My engagement to Liam had been set half a year ago. Time truly flies. In the blink of an eye, the engagement was tomorrow. To look my best at the engagement party, I purposely left work early. As soon as I buckled my seatbelt, a WhatsApp message popped up, tagging me. I think I saw Liam when I was throwing out the trash. Did you two move into this apartment complex? This friend bought her apartment around the same time as me, in the same apartment complex. However, her new place was renovated smoothly, and she'd moved in over a year ago. I was baffled and replied with a question mark. Friends in the WhatsApp group who knew the inside story quickly helped explain. Their marital home isn't done with renovations yet. Are you sure you didn't see wrong? Just that one sentence ignited the WhatsApp group, and everyone started watching the drama unfold. In the end, everyone figured Liam must be secretly preparing another surprise for me. It was no wonder they thought that. Liam and I had been dating for 3 years, and everyone knew how much he doted on me. He often gave me surprises. Recalling Liam's strange demeanor when we chatted half an hour ago, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but turn up. Even I thought he'd secretly come over early this time to surprise me. My friends always said I was reserved, not enthusiastic about anything, and my emotions were always calm. Even when Liam meticulously planned a proposal that brought everyone to tears, I just calmly replied, okay. I had never explained this. But they didn't know that if I didn't truly love him, how could I have decided to marry him? The thought of Liam's gentle face brought forth a wave of longing that had been suppressed for half a year. Well, I'd give him a surprise too. With that thought, I arrived at the door of our future home. Unlike my last visit, when the door was cold and bare, this time there were decorative welcome banners, and the door plaque had been changed to a design I loved. The entryway was carpeted, a carpet I had spent 3 days choosing. The shoe rack by the door was also made according to my drawing. On the shoe rack, there were even matching slippers Liam and I had purchased via online shopping not long ago. I smiled wider and wider. Liam was genuinely putting effort into making our little home. This thought warmed my heart, making me want to see him even more. But since it was a surprise, I held back from calling him and smilingly entered the door lock password. His password had always been simple, not hard to guess. Sure enough, the door opened with a beep. But my good mood from before entering vanished the next second. The master bedroom door wasn't fully closed. Through the gap, I saw a woman. She wore a white men's shirt that just covered her thighs, sitting cross-legged on the bed. A sweet voice rang out in the room. This shirt of yours is really poor quality, the collar is so stiff. Then came Liam's laughing voice. Didn't you say it was sexier this way? The woman teased. Actually, I think sleeping naked is sexier and more comfortable, don't you? I frowned, suppressing my discomfort, and spoke up. Liam, is this what you meant by being too tired from work and needing to sleep for a bit? The conversation in the master bedroom stopped abruptly. After a moment of scrambling, Liam rushed over to me. Harper, what are you doing here? He said it, but his expression looked quite normal. However, the fleeting flicker of guilt in his eyes still betrayed him. I stared straight into his eyes, my emotion still quite steady. In truth, I also wanted to ask him why the person who claimed on WhatsApp to be working overtime over 1,000 kilometers away, so tired they were falling asleep and needed to go to bed early, was here, and with a woman. But I just coldly spat out 2 words, explain. Liam opened his mouth, about to speak, when the unfamiliar woman behind him hooked her arm around his neck. I told you to just be honest. I said secrets don't stay hidden forever. Their eyes met in the air, an indescribably ambiguous exchange. After 2 seconds, Liam was the first to look away, frowning slightly. Don't talk nonsense, Chloe, say hello to your sister-in-law. But he didn't pull away from the woman's touch, letting her keep her arm around his neck. The woman named Chloe then turned her gaze to me. But the way she looked at me was like she was examining an item on a shelf waiting to be bought, making me profoundly uncomfortable. After 2 seconds, she smirked cunningly. Sweetheart, so you're his fiancé? I didn't respond. She looked as if she'd just realized something, blinking. Don't be shy, an ugly daughter-in-law still has to meet her in-laws. Don't worry, if Liam ever treats you badly, you can tell me. Hee, I'm his in-game mom role, he wouldn't dare not listen to me. After she finished speaking, Liam hooked the corner of his mouth. naturally flicking her forehead with his hand, laughing as he scolded, "You've gone too far. When did you become my mom? Why don't I know?" The woman slapped Liam's hand away. "A healer is also a mom." Then she looked back at me. "Sweetheart, don't misunderstand. I'm talking about the game. I'm Liam's dedicated healer." I silently watched their intimacy, which was impossible to hide, for a long while before pulling at the corner of my mouth. I don't care how many moms he has, but if I remember correctly, this is my apartment. I rarely spoke with such a passive-aggressive tone. Liam clearly sensed that my mood was off. He swallowed, as if NLY now realizing he was in the wrong. He stepped forward and pulled my hand. "Harper, don't be angry. I admit I didn't think this through. Let me formally introduce you, Chloe. My childhood friend, and the younger sister I told you about. She just graduated college and is interning in Riverwood." I pulled my hand away from his touch, and the image of that person immediately surfaced in my mind. That was back when he and I had just started dating. It was a long-distance relationship, and as young people, full of passion, it was inevitable that sparks would fly when we met. But every time we were intimate, his phone would ring nonstop. I couldn't stand it anymore. One time, hearing his phone vibrate endlessly again, I casually picked it up. There were several messages on the screen. "Why aren't you replying? Getting intimate again? Your girlfriend is really impatient." Being suddenly talked about like that by a stranger certainly made me uncomfortable. He apologized to me, explaining that she was just a teenage sister who always spoke without a filter, and I shouldn't bother with her. Later, this sister stopped messaging him when we were intimate. After that, I only occasionally heard him mention her, and his tone was always dismissive. As time passed, I gradually forgot about it. But now, matching the person to the past memory, my anger surged even more. New and old resentments flared up together, and I couldn't suppress the fire. Liam was still explaining. Graduates don't have much money, and she couldn't find a suitable apartment right away. Besides, our apartment was empty anyway. I was just afraid you'd be unhappy, so. I lifted my eyelids slightly. So he knew I would be unhappy. Liam continued to babble, but my attention was drawn to the state of the apartment. The furniture was arranged according to my preferences, that was true, but there were signs of it being messed up everywhere. On the sofa, women's clothes were strewn about, jackets, tops, and intimate underwear, brazenly exposed. In the middle of the sofa was a pillow with a candid photo of Liam and me, but a woman's black lace thong was hanging over my face. On the dining table was half-eaten takeout, with sauce spilled everywhere. Several spots on my carefully chosen floor were dented and scratched, and the ceiling was splattered with who knew what. The coffee table, TV cabinet, air conditioner, storage unit. Every piece of furniture I could see had various degrees of damage. My temples throbbed. I closed my eyes, truly wishing this was just a chaotic dream. But upon opening them, I had to accept that this was reality. On the other side, Chloe reached out and pinched Liam's lips, glaring at him coyly. All right, stop rambling. Didn't you always say your fiancé was gentle, generous, and sensible? This is a small matter, she definitely won't mind, right? Sweetheart? Liam scratched his head, seemingly convinced by her, looking relieved, then looked at me expectantly. That look used to work on me, wet and puppy-like. I turned my head away, the disgust in my heart growing stronger. These two were playing a game. Did they really think I was a fool? I took a deep breath. So, this woman, without my knowledge, occupied my marital home, wore my boyfriend's shirt, and flirted with him on my bed, and you expect me to be magnanimous and not hold it against her? My words were directed at Liam. The one who immediately changed expression was Chloe, who had been smiling all along. She gave Liam a meaningful glance. Looks like your fiancé isn't so great after all. My expression also darkened, my gaze suddenly sharp. She, looking scared of me, and hid behind Liam. Honey, your fiancé is so fierce. Hearing this, Liam instinctively straightened his back. Perhaps he didn't even realize it was a defensive posture. It was clear whom he was defending against. For a moment, I actually had the thought that these two were the real couple, and I was due. An accident. Liam stared at me, his tone tinged with accusation. Harper, after half a year, how did you become so harsh? Can you not act like this? Don't nitpick and argue with a kid. Don't embarrass me, okay? I glared at him incredulously. Who said I was a reserved person with no emotional fluctuations? Here I was, almost laughing from anger. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Chloe's gaze flickered between Liam and me, then she bit her lower lip, lowered her eyes, and mumbled, "It's just borrowing a place to stay. Does it have to be said so unpleasantly?" At this, I truly laughed from anger. Oh? Just borrowing? Am I blind? Instead of wearing her own clothes properly, she's wearing a man's shirt, half covered. Do I need to spell out who she's trying to seduce? Hearing this, Chloe let out a short scream, her face instantly flushing red, then she covered her ears with both hands and lowered her head. When she looked up again, her eyes were teary, staring straight at Liam. Honey, I'm being bullied, aren't you going to do something? Hearing this, Liam's brows furrowed into a frown. Meeting Chloe's round eyes, Liam changed from his earlier submissive tone. While comforting her, he shot me an accusatory look. Harper, are you done or not? I told you, she's just my childhood friend. All the wrong is mine, I shouldn't have taken liberties, but Chloe is innocent. He paused, then seemed to realize his tone was too harsh and softened his voice. Harper, give me a break. Apologize to Chloe, and I'll also help her find a new apartment and move out as soon as possible. Let's just put this behind us. As he spoke, Chloe leaned bonelessly against Liam's chest, subtly casting a provocative glance at me. Just that one look. In a flash, I could no longer contain the rage in my heart. Put it behind us? You're dreaming. Liam, this is my marital home. From the down payment to the renovations, all the money came from me. Only my name is on the property deed. I let you handle the apartment because I thought it would be our little home anyway. You said you encountered an unreliable renovation team, and I went looking for people and even paid extra, all while having to consider your ego and coax you into accepting the money. You said you wanted to give me a surprise and wouldn't let me inquire about the renovations. I didn't even dare to rush you, bearing the pressure of my mom repeatedly asking for updates, and even firmly explaining for you when others questioned why a renovation would take 2 years. And what's the result? I don't even know when my own apartment was finished. All your talk about being busy with work, having no time to meet, and the apartment being almost done, it turns out you were keeping me in the dark, running off to live with this so-called sister of yours first. Is that right? You're really good at being generous with other people's money. I unleashed my full fury, sneering as I enumerated Liam's wrongdoings. What? Honey, didn't you say this apartment was half yours? Chloe inappropriately missed the point. Liam's face stiffened at Chloe's remark, or perhaps he was rendered speechless by my words. His expression shifted several times before he came to his senses, hastily pushing Chloe away and eagerly trying to prove his loyalty to me. She's really just like a sister. We've known each other for over 10 years. If anything was going to happen, it would have happened already. Harper, believe me. I stared at him coldly for a moment, then shook my head. Whether anything happened or not, it no longer matters. Deception and a lack of boundaries with the opposite sex, these two things hitting my red lines are enough. With that, I glanced at Chloe. This apartment was occupied by you without my knowledge, and what's more, there are also clear signs of deliberate damage to the property. Anyone else would report this as trespassing. However, I'm not an unreasonable person. Given that you and my ex-fiancé do know each other, I won't press charges for trespassing. But dealing with this privately is still quite troublesome. For fairness, I'm going to call 911 now to ask the relevant authorities to assess the damages. You'll pay for what needs paying, and discard what needs discarding. You have no objections, do you? Then, I swept my gaze over Liam. As for us, we're breaking up. Tomorrow's engagement party is cancelled. Besides the necessary compensation for the apartment, there's another sum of money, the renovation fees I Venmo transferred to you previously. I expect you to transfer them back to me immediately. Otherwise, I don't mind seeking legal assistance. Having spoken, I didn't wait for their response and dialed 911 right in front of them. Liam was clearly startled by my actions. His dark eyes instantly clouded over, and he swiftly snatched my phone, his lips tight. Harper, what are you doing? I shot him a cold glare. The atmosphere continued to drop to freezing point. At this moment, Chloe let out a snicker. After all that, sweetheart, you're just jealous, aren't you? You're not really angry that he let me stay in the apartment. You're angry that I wore his clothes, right? We're all women, I understand what you're thinking. But, her eyes flashed, and she lifted her shirt, revealing the men's underwear she was wearing. Wearing clothes is nothing, I even wore his underwear. Don't be so petty. We were like this before I met you. Isn't it a bit late for you to be jealous now? My eye twitched. I thought to myself that this woman's thought process was truly abnormal. I was talking about money, but she was twisting it to flaunt how special she was in a man's heart. Little did she know, my jealousy had long been extinguished. Even my anger and disgust now had to give way to my financial losses. In my line of sight, Liam followed her movement, his gaze becoming when it landed on that area. But he quickly composed himself. He looked up, meeting my eyes. The next second, he took off his jacket in front of me and draped it over Chloe, sighing slightly. A hypocritical demeanor. Harper, don't lower yourself to this brat's level. I never saw her as a woman, she's just a kid. It's not worth us making such a big fuss. I frowned. I suddenly found this man so unfamiliar. Why had I never noticed how difficult he was to communicate with before? My calm emotions rippled again, and in my agitation, I couldn't be bothered to waste any more words on them. Give me back my phone. You can both leave. As for calling the police, the evidence was clear, so I wasn't worried about them escaping. Perhaps my unyielding attitude made Liam furious. He changed from his earlier submissive tone, his attitude becoming stern. Fine, we'll go. Harper, with your temper, who else but me could put up with you? Don't come crying back to me later. With that, he tried to pull Chloe out the door. The next second, Chloe's passive-aggressive voice drilled into my ears. TSK, honey, I really don't know what you see in such a weird woman. Damn it. In my 26 years of life, only at this moment did I truly understand what it meant to lose control. My brain hadn't even processed it, but my feet had automatically chased after them. I yanked Chloe's hair, forcing her to turn and face me. And with extreme speed, I slapped her. Everything happened in a flash. Chloe only had time to cry out in pain, clutching her burning face, shrieking, "You hit me? You actually dared to hit me. My parents never hit me." I flexed my wrist and chuckled softly. Exactly. Haven't you heard that saying? Your parents might not have taught you, but the world will. And here's another one for free. Some lessons are learned the hard way. Liam, standing nearby, suddenly clamped down on my wrist, roaring, "Harper, apologize." I was startled by the sudden shout, and my rationality returned. I almost forg. OT he was there. I sneered, raised my leg, and kicked him in the groin. As he cried out in pain and loosened his grip on me, 2 sharp smacks echoed, left and right, as I slapped his face with even crisper sounds. I hadn't expected that a few slaps would make Liam change his tune so quickly. He covered his red, swollen cheek and mumbled an apology to me. He promised that Chloe would move out first thing tomorrow morning. He also offered to find a reliable third-party agency to fairly and justly assess the property damage and compensate accordingly. Finally, he earnestly stated that he would explain the full story to both sets of parents. The drastic change in his attitude left me speechless. But this was good. Since he was willing to cooperate, I didn't need to waste police resources. But I had underestimated Liam's ability to twist the truth. I hadn't even left the apartment building when my mom's accusatory call came in. A barrage of harsh criticism. She said that an engagement, like a marriage, shouldn't be treated as a child's game. She said invitations had already been sent out, and many relatives and friends were already settled in the hotel, waiting to attend the banquet tomorrow. She said everyone had witnessed the harmonious relationship between Liam and me, and suddenly canceling the engagement now would just give others something to laugh about and make us lose face. She said I wasn't getting any younger. She also said Liam was only hiding it from me because he was afraid I'd get angry, that it was a well-intentioned lie, and anyway, nothing substantial had happened, so I shouldn't overreact and act willfully. I listened expressionlessly, not at all surprised that my mom would say such things. As long as I could remember, my parents had been typical authoritarian parenting parents. From childhood to now, whenever I had conflicts with others, regardless of whether I was right or wrong, they would always scold me unilaterally. Over time, I gradually developed a mild-mannered personality. I never refuted their baseless accusations and tried my best to meet their demands. But even a cornered animal will fight back. Moreover, the stubbornness and self-interest deep within my bones actually grew stronger in that upbringing. Like tonight. After realizing I had been betrayed, there was sadness, but my first thought was how to minimize my losses. Actually, if I could, I would have wanted Liam to pay back double the time, energy, and money I had spent on him. How could I compromise just to avoid losing face? A gust of evening wind blew by, bringing a touch of coolness. I collected my thoughts, letting my voice drift on the wind. I initiated the breakup. Whoever wants to get married can marry him. Silence on the other end of the line for 2 seconds. I knew what my mom was shocked by. After all, this was the first time in my life I had defied their wishes. The next morning, I contacted a lawyer friend and, through another friend, found a professional appraisal agency. When I led the group of people into the apartment, a sour smell immediately hit us. I was walking at the back, wondering why 5 tall, strong staff members were blocking the doorway. Then, a woman's shriek suddenly erupted from inside. Following the path the staff cleared, I sneered, laughing softly. This time, it was truly catching them in the act. Liam was enraged by my sneer. "Harper, what are you doing?" I looked at their flustered and scrambling to cover themselves, hands innocently out. "Property damage assessment." Liam gritted his teeth. "Didn't I say I'd find?" "I'm sorry." I pulled out the property deed, shaking it, interrupting him with a smirk. I couldn't wait. The assessment process went smoothly. An hour later, the staff determined the responsible party for compensation and the specific amount. Immediately after, Liam gasped, "400,000. Harper, are you robbing me? What's wrong?" I raised an eyebrow in surprise. "All of this is based on the quote you initially gave me. You don't have any objections, do you?" Liam's mouth opened and closed, finally shifting his gaze when he met my lawyer friend's deep stare. Of course, I knew what he wanted to say. I had only just learned that his so-called expense breakdown back then was fraudulent, a product of inflated unit prices. It was laughable that, based on trust, I had transferred him the money without even glancing at the financial details. But thankfully, in the end, he had shot himself in the foot. Under the witnesses of the staff, Chloe began to grudgingly pack her luggage. Liam, his face flushed, stammered my name from the side. Can you give us 2 more days? You know, I'm not familiar with Riverwood. I really can't find a suitable apartment right away." I scoffed. "So, your promises from yesterday mean nothing? Or do you want 2 more slaps?" At the mention of that, Liam's face instantly turned the color of a pig's liver, standing there helplessly. Chloe, however, rushed over like a madwoman, her voice sharp. "Why are you being soft on her? Are you stupid? She's already blinded by money. She doesn't care about old feelings at all. Only you were moping around, drinking your sorrows away all night. Some people are just cold-hearted, they have no soul." I turned my head to look at her, a hint of mockery flashing in my eyes. "What? Is your face itching too?" Despite the twists and turns, the unwanted presence finally moved out. Almost as soon as those 2 carried their large bags out the front door, I called a cleaning service. After all, a man could be discarded when he got dirty, but the apartment was innocent. After cleaning, I went with my friend to buy new furniture. Looking at the completely refreshed apartment, I let out a deep breath. Now, between Liam and me, only financial disputes remained. I knew very well that Liam didn't have much money. What kind of savings could a working man earning $5,000 a month have? Therefore, when Liam repeatedly dodged the compensation issue, I wasn't surprised at all. I simply sent the prepared lawyer's letter. Liam didn't even bother to pretend anymore. "Who are you trying to scare? Weren't you going to call the police? Why are you sending useless papers now?" At that time, I had just closed a big deal and was in a good mood, so I kindly offered him some legal advice. After calling the police, the process first involves mutual negotiation. Clearly, I can't negotiate with you at all. So, we'll see you in court. He continued to act defiant. "Go ahead and sue. Don't say I didn't warn you. I'm in Willow Creek, and you're in Riverwood. Besides, I have nothing to my name but debt. My advice is, sue me a little later, otherwise, you won't even get back the legal fees." And so, Liam kept dragging his feet on the compensation. It seemed he was confident that I had no way to deal with him, but he clearly didn't know me well enough. On a long-awaited day off, I claimed to have lost valuable items and, as the homeowner, requested surveillance footage from the apartment building's elevator and the apartment complex's common areas from the day I discovered Liam's cheating. The surveillance clearly showed, Liam arrived at the apartment complex entrance at 8 a.m. that day. At 8:05 a.m., he took the elevator up alone. At 8:15 a.m., Chloe, red-eyed and covering her mouth, sobbed as she took the elevator down. 30 seconds later, Liam chased after her. At 8:26 a.m., the 2 returned to the apartment complex, one after the other, had an argument, accompanied by physical contact. At 8:31 a.m., Liam confined Chloe in the elevator, leaned down, and they kissed passionately all the way up. I watched with a calm expression. Turning my head, my friend who was recording the video for me was stunned. After a long pause, she finally regained her composure. I lowered my eyes and smiled slightly. The more scandalous, the more it would help me recover my money, woon. It? After getting the video evidence, I didn't rush to publicize it. Instead, I found Liam's good friend in my contact list. After using the Venmo transfer function to confirm he hadn't deleted me, I directly stated my intention. Actually, my goal was simple. I just wanted to understand Chloe's presence in Liam's social circle better, to add leverage for me to get my money back smoothly. Perhaps Liam hadn't revealed the truth of our breakup to his friends. When I asked about Chloe, his friend was still earnestly explaining for him. Harper, you're really wronging Liam here. Chloe is pretty close with all of us. She's just like a little sister in our circle, nothing more. Who doesn't have a small group of friends they grew up with? Years of camaraderie are naturally deeper than ordinary friendships, don't you agree? I got the answer I wanted, politely thanked him, and opened my chat with Liam. I clicked on the video and sent it. Pay up, or pay up after you're famous, you choose. Fiancé cheats and brings his mistress to trash his fiancé's marital home. Don't you think that would make for explosive news? On the other end, the typing indicator appeared repeatedly under his name. Finally, he called me. Harper, in your eyes, is money really more important than our 3 years of relationship? No, I don't believe it. In the time since that incident, I've thought a lot. I feel like I've become a different person, easily irritable, anxious. I can't control my emotions. Have you ever thought about why? With that, he burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably, because I hate it so much. Initially, I truly just wanted to help Chloe out. I admit, there was an element of fronting as a wealthy person in front of my friends, but that was all. The day before the engagement, the reason I secretly came back to Riverwood was to secretly get her to leave. I swear, before that day, I hadn't even held her hand. Later, here, he sighed. You saw what happened AF. Hereward, I was utterly foolish. I'm sorry, I won't cause trouble anymore. I promise to cut ties with her. Please don't break up with me, okay? I know you still love me, otherwise, you wouldn't threaten me with this. To be honest, I hadn't expected him to perform a repentant scumbag act even at this point. I was so shocked that I forgot to interrupt him. Only when he started getting more and more ridiculous did I snap out of it. That's enough. Instead of wasting time, you should hurry up and gather the money. You and I both know, an amount this large, you can't just renege on it. You're just dragging things out day by day. Letting you drag it out this long has been me being more than fair, Liam. My patience is limited. I mean what I say. With that, I hung up the phone without hesitation. Fortunately, Liam was still a hypocrite who cared about his reputation. This tactic still worked on him. Less than 30 hours after that call, Liam appeared immaculately dressed at my doorstep. The second before the doorbell rang, my mom was still frowning, scolding me for being too impulsive about canceling the engagement. Turning around and seeing Liam, she immediately put on a warm smile. Liam, what brings you here today? You're here for Harper, aren't you? I was just lecturing her. She just doesn't appreciate how good she has it. You two should talk things through, try to resolve your issues soon. I think this time, forget the engagement, just get married directly. Initially, Liam smiled and listened quietly. Gradually, his gaze grew complex. Finally, he gave me a regretful look and shook his head at my mom. I'm sorry, Auntie. I'm not here today to reconcile with Harper. With that, he pulled out a document from his suit pocket and opened it. In fact, I'm already married. Then, he used his other hand to pull out a bank card from another pocket and pushed it towards me with all 10 fingers. It was the secondary card I had given him for emergencies before. There's 600,000 in the card. The password is your birthday. I promised you, and I delivered. From now on, let us not long for each other again. He continued his dramatic performance of deep affection. I didn't expose his pretense, just gave him a look as if he were an idiot, and swiftly took the card. At this point, I had no interest in watching his clumsy, attention-seeking performance and was busy checking the balance. When I saw the string of numbers safely in the account, I finally let out a long sigh of relief. Just then, Liam also stood up to leave. Under my mom's daggering gaze, I perfunctorily walked him to the door. Chloe was waiting for him outside the door. Liam's face broke into a triumphant smile, and then he unhesitatingly put his arm around Chloe's waist, looking at me with a hint of gloating. All right, ex-girlfriend, this is as far as you need to see me off. My wife is here to pick me up. He emphasized the word wife in a particularly strange tone. Seeing this, Chloe cooperatively lowered her head shyly. Honey, speaking of which, I really have to thank Sweetheart for her sacrifice. The two exchanged glances, then gazed at each other, and even started passionately kissing in the street. While kissing, Liam kept dividing his attention to observe my expression, hoping to see emotions like sadness or disappointment on my face. But unfortunately, at that moment, my mind was entirely consumed by the money I had recovered, leaving no room for a single glance at him. I was practically grinning from ear to ear. After that day, I blocked everything related to Liam and threw myself entirely into my work. I next heard news of Liam at a friend's birthday party. My friend mentioned that Liam had somehow struck it rich. He'd not only bought the house next to mine as his marital home but was also holding his wedding with Chloe in Bali, sending out invitations far and wide, with his spending skyrocketing. Seriously, that jerk is quite th. Drama queen, isn't he? Was he pretending to be poor when he was with you? Now he's shown his true colors, and he still has the audacity to become your neighbor. It's disgusting. I casually picked up a slice of watermelon from the fruit platter. Eating it with relish, I calmly smiled and reassured my indignant friend, he can live wherever he wants. I've already listed that house in Emerald Creek for sale. I took care of that on the day I received the transfer order from company headquarters. A month later, I boarded my flight as planned, ready to embark on a new chapter. Life returned to a peaceful rhythm. I thought I would never have anything to do with Liam again in this life. But then, on an ordinary afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. The caller claimed to be an employee from a certain financial institution, aggressively questioning my relationship with Liam and threatening me to tell him to pay back the money immediately. After hanging up, I went to the police station. It was then that I learned the 400,000 yuan Liam had repaid me earlier was borrowed from various loan apps. In bits and pieces, he had borrowed over 600,000 in total. Not only that, but for years, he had been maintaining a facade of being quietly wealthy among his friends. Even his hasty marriage to Chloe and buying a house was part of maintaining that facade. In reality, the house was bought with a loan in Chloe's name, and after he squandered the money and couldn't repay the loan, he even used their marital status to borrow a substantial amount of money under Chloe's name. Once he got the money, Liam disappeared. Chloe was left to bear the burden of the mortgage and all the other loans under her name. As for Liam, it was said he was detained by customs on a boat, attempting to smuggle himself out of the country. Hearing this, I couldn't help but chuckle. A leopard can't change its spots. No matter how much Liam fronted as a wealthy person, his Rain stinginess always ended up harming himself and others at critical moments. Much later, I ran into Chloe once at a grilled fish restaurant. Her face was pale, her hair dry and yellowed, and her lips parched. She was wearing a drab work uniform, looking timid and withdrawn. Gone was the arrogant demeanor she had when I first met her. My friend, who knew the full story, murmured with a sigh, "Poor thing," but she brought some of it on herself. I heard she didn't even pursue Liam's responsibility. She even deliberately became the mistress to help him repay his loans, and after she got pregnant, she went to the man's family to demand money, only to be made infertile by the original wife. Now, she's stuck shamefully waiting tables and sweeping floors. And even after all that, she still refuses to divorce Liam. She's simply doomed to mediocrity. I nodded, hinting, it is quite a pitiful situation. Now she's truly become Liam's de facto mom. Thank you for watching today's story. If you liked this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to seeing your comments. Feel free to share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.